Feeling friends is this concept that I came up with laying in bed one night. I have all these close friends who have these wonderful stories that can help change the world, life experiences that can help other people believe in themselves, hold tight to their dreams and make their dreams reality. On Feeling Friends, we talk about God, we talk about love, relationships. I have celebrity friends, I have non-celebrity friends. I have church members, family members. But when you watch and listen to Feeling Friends, you will learn and you will laugh. It's a community of friends helping to build each other up. So tune in to Feeling Friends every Sunday on WHCR 90.3 FM, or you can catch me on YouTube at Feeling Friends Radio. All right, I'll see you there. WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. What's up, everybody? It's Phil. I'm back here live in the studio. I got a new hairstyle. I hope y'all like it. It's a little fuzzy in the front. But listen, I got my homeboy, my frat brother, my fraternity brother, live here in the studio. My boy, let's bring him right in. Kinyumba, he's here. He's going to talk about this new great documentary that he has. He's a great entertainer. He has over 30 credits working with all the big stars in Hollywood, and he's a big Hollywood star himself. And so he's here. So let's welcome Ken to the studio. Kinyumba, what's up, brother?
Woo, what's up, Fred? It's good to see you, my brother, man. It's been a minute. How you been, man?
How you doing?
Oh, man, I'm so blessed. I'm blessed to be here, humbled that I get to join you on your show. How about that? I remember when you were talking about starting this, so congratulations to you and all your successes, brother.
Thank you, man. You know, Ken, for the audience, Ken and I, we met in L.A., I had my alpha pin on. He was like, "You a bruh?" And my other bro was with me. And we became really good friends. And he was actually one of the last friends that I met in LA, man. So I appreciate you, brother. You're very motivated. And that's one thing I can say about you. You're always motivated, making sure that we kept following our dreams and living our dreams.
Well, you know, we are servants amongst all, right? You know, serve all and transcend all. You know, that's the way we move. So we always try to support each other. And just so you guys know, just a full disclosure, I do have a toddler. So she may give her 2 cents from time to time.
He's a future star. There she is. She's a future star.
Her mother's a singer. Her daddy's an actor. She don't know how to be quiet.
That's the next star, man. We got it happen. She's a beautiful little girl. Hopefully she can make a cameo right here.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see. She's negotiating between her dolls and her box right now, so she's preoccupied.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. And hey, man, what do you want to talk about?
Well, listen, let's jump right into it. I want to talk about your entertainment career first. Okay. How did you start in the entertainment industry?
You know, it's interesting. I didn't necessarily know that I wanted to be an actor. It came about in a series of kind of serendipitous circumstances. So my earliest idea of being an actor came about 10 years old, and we had a career day in my school, and I remember telling the class, I was like, I don't know what I want to be. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a rock and roll guitarist. I wanted to play football. I want to be a firefighter. I was like, I just want to do it all. I don't care. I just want to be everything. And then I remember to this day, this girl next to me was like, why don't you just be an actor? You can just act like all them things. I was like, well, shit. It's actually not a bad idea. Like, damn, and then it kind of stuck with me in the back of my head. I played football. Football kind of came natural to me. I was born a martial artist, I should say. That was my first kind of, craft. And, my father and my mother were both martial artists, and they kind of steered me into the craft. And then from there, I played football. But when I played football, I got recruited to play in Florida. And I was dating a girl who was a model, and she was modeling with Wilhelmina at the time. And I went to one of her shows, and I remember this. One of the program directors said, "Hey, we're missing a male model. Do you want to jump in?" And I was like, "I'm not a model. I never did before." So I was like, you know what? She was like, "You'll give me $500." I was like, "What I gotta wear?" College student, $500 pay me for a month and a half. Like, what are you talking about? Let me go. That's gonna feed me for 6 weeks. Like, right. So yeah, $500 later, I was signed to Wilhelmina, and
wow, that's a good story. I never knew that, man. That's
crazy, right? And and then from there, I kind of like dabbled in modeling, but I was still playing football. So I wasn't really like, I'm going to take this seriously. I'm still trying to take it to the next level with football. Then I tore my Achilles playing football, and then I had to make some real tough decisions. This is around the same time I pledged my fraternity, Alpha. And so then I pledged and I started to.
Our fraternity, brother. Our fraternity.
You know, the light shines in my heart too. You know, it's a possessive pronoun. I'm discussing my fraternity. But, you know, it's ours. It's ours. It's the world's. You know, we're all alphas if you want to step forward and be a leader. The idea, though, for me was to kind of secure my future outside of sports, right? So I decided to become, you know, amongst the leadership of our brotherhood. I decided to also join NAACP. I joined Inroads. I just did everything I could to secure my, you know, my future. At that point, I ended up moving to Atlanta, and she's now singing. She's got her 2 cents, baby. Come on now.
She's good. She's all right.
So yeah, and then I went. I had another scenario where I kind of got stumbled into a opportunity. So I went to a open call with a friend. They knew about the modeling contract that I had, and they you know, Atlanta was kind of developing its modeling scene and its acting scene at the time. It was like an open call, and I was just like, I didn't know what it was, but apparently it was an open call for Carrie Hilson's music video. And one of the casting directors, like, she's like to my friend to this day, she saw me and she was like, listen, I think, you know, we can do something with you. You know, don't even worry about all this. Just take my card and call me later. I was like, oh, shit, cool. You know, that works for me. I don't got to do nothing. And so, long story short, I ended up being in Carrie Hilson's video. And then at that point, I was just like, you know what? It's just way too many different, like, opportunities coming my way. And to be frank with you, I can do this until I'm 180. You know, like, I ain't never got to worry about getting a concussion. I ain't got to worry about, you know, tearing any more ligaments. And that's when I kind of transition permanently away from sports into, you know, more the entertainment field. And at that time, I was still dabbling in politics. So when I moved to Atlanta because I had an opportunity to work in politics, I kind of skipped over that part. But Melvin Everson, who is also a frat, he is actually a Black state representative Republican. And I chose to work with him as a legislative director, and I worked with him for 3 years that he was in office. And I made so many wonderful, valuable connections. That was one of the reasons why I moved to Atlanta. And then the opportunity to work in acting came about, or in that video world came about. And then from there, I kind of worked on Tyler Perry's project. I worked in Ben 10, and I had another project. I forgot what it was. I think it's House of Pain. I think it was the Tyler Perry, and then I ended up securing an agency. And then
what year was this? Is this 03? Back in what year was around? What time was this?
That old, man. What you talking about? This is like yeah. Turned the 02 into the 03. No, it was actually like around 2007, 2008.
Oh yeah,
2008, 2009, 2007, 2009.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the time I was graduating from college.
Yeah. And so then I ended up moving to Atlanta. I mean, from Atlanta, I was like, you know what? Atlanta was doing well. It's like a burgeoning market. But I was like, like I said, I'm a martial artist. So my thought process was, if I'm going to learn martial arts, I'm going to go to Shaolin. I'm going to learn acting. I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to learn from the real guys who are the coaches who are really teaching it. I didn't get a chance to go to the conservatory. So I just said, you know, I'm going to go learn with the names that I know. Like I heard Aaron Spicer. I heard Leslie Kahn. And then my teacher, my mentor, my heart, Ivana Chubbuck. Shout out to IC, Power of the Actor. So
I have her book.
You know, shit. If you an actor or director, you better get it. If you don't have it already, for real. So that's my heart. I love her, and she's been kind of my coach and my mentor ever since. And so, like, you know, that's kind of how my trajectory kind of got into entertainment.
I want to go back to the martial artist, because I know you as a martial artist, but you're very peaceful. You know, you can go there. You're very peaceful.
Shit, most the ones who are true martial artists are. They should be.
Yeah, you really are. But let's talk, because I know your parents are really big into martial art. How did that help transform your life? So have you all always done the martial art in your family? Has it always been a family thing, or what?
Yo, my cousin's in the back right here. She showed me a picture that I forgot. I must have took when I was like 8. I mean, I'm in the gi, squared off against my mom, and she's in the gi. That's how we were. Like I'm a dojo baby. I'm 8 years and 9 years younger than my oldest brother, and I have a brother that's 5 years older than me. Rest in peace. And ultimately, like, I didn't really have a choice. I just knew that the martial arts was a part of my daily, you know, lexicon. It wasn't really like I didn't know anything different. So it was interesting for me because, you know, we moved from New York when I was young too. Our martial arts school started in New York, so when I got to Atlanta, where we moved to, that's when I started picking up sports, and that's why I was so good at it, because I excelled in it. So to answer your question, how it shaped my life, it shaped it tremendously in discipline. Like I work hard, most harder than most people, and I'll generally outwork most people, especially in the weight room and or like in conditioning, because my mindset is different. I enjoy it. I actually embrace pain. That's one of the things that my father used to always teach us in martial arts. It's like, we sit in our horse stance, which is essentially like a squat, where your knees are pointed out as if you're riding a horse. It's called a horse stance. And we were sitting in them until instance burned out. You could imagine how long that would be. Right.
That's a long time.
So and then I'm on some real Shaolin training type stuff. So we would sit into that. And then his whole thing was to stare at the wall and find a point to focus on. And, when you start to do that stuff, at 5, 6, 7, I mean, I was learning forms and katas with like 100 moves at like 5, 6 weapons forms, 3 sectional staff, bow, spear, sword, size, nunchucks, like these random ass weapons that you don't necessarily learn until you're like in your teens. I was learning at a very young age. So it helped me with my discipline. It helped me with my memory. I can go on set with 3 or 4 pages and memorize it like that. I have great memory because of it, because I was learning all these intricate art forms. And to be frank with you, it helped me with my toughness. I went through a lull in Hollywood for about almost 3 or 4, about 5 years, to be frank with you. I was doing stuff here and there, but nothing like major. And I hit a lick. When I hit jump off, I thought I was going to do something. Then I hit black soft that I was on. I thought I was going to do something, and I hit this lull. Then I hit like other reoccurring starring roles, or guest starring roles, I should say. But the resiliency that I feel like I had to show, I got and earned from that martial arts conviction that I earned from in that environment, in that arena. And then obviously the sparring helped too. I never lost.
But I know that happens a lot, especially as actors. We hit this sparring. We hit this.
I had to throw that one in there.
Right. We hit this lull. We hit in entertainment. You have to figure out how to make it. You had that hit show. And then things happen, and if you ever see Ken, he's always on a commercial. They always use this picture. Because I was like, yo, I see you again at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like you'll see, but you hit that low because as an actor, you think this is gonna blow up. That's why I moved to LA. You think this is gonna take off, and then all of a sudden the show gets canceled. Then you get another pilot. And then so let's talk about that experience. Just encouraging people to not give up, because this whole thing about giving up, it's you cannot give up, especially in entertainment. You have to keep it moving because something is gonna hit sooner or later.
So I say this to anyone who's listening to this: when it comes to whatever field you're in, you are the thinker of your own thoughts. So with that said, and I know that sounds like cliche, but the point is that regardless of what someone else thinks about you, regardless of what their rejection or their acceptance may be, it's up to you to decide whether you are great or not. It's up to you to decide whether you are worthy or not. And ultimately, the unique thing about our profession, being in media, being in camera, being recorded, you can't hide the truth.
Absolutely.
That's why a lot of guys don't book, or a lot of girls don't book, because when it comes down to it, they're insecure, they're uncomfortable, they secretly know they didn't put the work in. And to be frank with you, like I kind of had a lot more successes when I started to change my mindset. And I had to go back into my training. I went through a depression, be real honest with you. From I would say like maybe like 4 years ago up until about 2 years ago. For like 2 years, I had like a really I was in a dark space. I went and got me a dog. I felt unloved. I was like, I need to find some grounding. And then I ended up getting into my Qigong. And Qigong is a martial arts form that's a little bit softer. It's a yin martial arts form. There's yang versions as well, but considerably, as far as it not being, yin would be soft or moon, and yang would be hard or sun. Whereas if you look at the yin and the yang symbol, you see that they kind of merge and become one circle. So the idea is that, a lot of people see martial arts as kicking and punching and forceful sun, whereas there's a very soft, gentle, flowy side of the art form. And that is going to allow you to have a little bit more perspective as far as patience and discipline, like that Mr. Miyagi wax on, wax off, watching the grass grow type thing. So I say all that to say, your mindset is key, is paramount. And then outside of the mindset is discipline and patience, and then consistency. Me and my girl, we have like the saying called "You down with MCC," and that's manifest, create, and consistent. Because you have to start with your mind, then you have to have action, you have to create. So you have to have experience. You go to acting classes. You do, you create your own shows. You create your own podcasts. Like I did, created my own documentary. And then from there, you're consistent. You continue to keep doing it. You keep having shows. You keep creating documentaries.
Absolutely.
You keep manifesting. And therein lies your success pattern. And that's to me is the key to life in whatever field you're in.
One of the things that I when we were hanging out in LA, we were all creating your own way. And my school, Clark Atlanta University, is find a way to make one. And that's why you're here today. Is you're not only are you getting cast for things, but you're making your own way. And so we're going to talk about really your documentary. What made you want to get into? I'm going to show the clip in a second. But what made you decide this is important? Matter of fact, let's just show the documentary and then let's get into it.
Let's do it. Let's do
that. All right. So here is. You want to introduce the documentary? Go ahead and introduce the trailer.
Yeah, of course. This is the official trailer for Nguvu Kwa Watu, which is Swahili for Power to the People.
Here it is, Power to the People.
Taking to the streets of Washington, D.C.
We're coming out of the darkness into the light, into a new world. Look up, my people! Look up!
Loved it, bro. Moving trailer. Movie documentary. I can't wait to see it. We got to get you in all the festivals. Let's talk about this. Let's start with the title.
Yeah.
This Swahili. Pronounce it for me.
Nguvu Kwa
Watu. Where did you get that from? It was Power to the People. But what inspired you to do this documentary?
So let me just go back to the original question about the title, because the title I think is important. And I appreciate you asking about that. I wanted to do that because of so I get a little frustrated when I travel the world, right? I travel all the time. And I went to Thailand about a year ago. I went to China and Thailand, and it was an experience that I had where I was in a car with some people from India, some people from Europe, some people from Asia, and some people from, I think it was some place in an Arabian country, I should say. So they were speaking Arabic. We were in a van getting ready to go to the Fifi Islands, which was like the James Bond Islands. And it was me and my friend, his name is Foster, and all the other people. So it was like 9 of us together. And there was a point in where everybody was speaking English. And then 10 minutes later, we were all talking to each other. And then 10 minutes later, they all started talking to their individual groups. And they all had their own language. And I just felt like some kind of way. I felt like I was like detached from some creativity or some like individuality. And, I looked at Foster and I was like, damn, man, we can't have any like intimate conversations, because whatever I say, they're going to understand, but I don't know what any of them saying. So they could be talking about us. And I'm sure everybody's experienced this was, you walk into an elevator and people are talking in a different language and you have no idea and you kind of feel like left out. Mm-hmm. And it hit me. It was like, man, us as, some people would term it as ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, we were taken away, from a lot of our cultural heritage and roots. Mm-hmm. And, it's important, especially when it comes to language, to have an identity. And, we live in a country that's considered and called America, and our language is English. Last I checked, this isn't England. Right. So it's interesting when you start to consider, the history of this country and the history of, the world and how it was kind of composed in this state that it is right now, to where it's like they're saying at one point was the sun never sat on the Union Jack, right? And so you think about how these people transitioned into other countries and, spread their gospels, pun is not intended. Wow. And we, I think, are deprived in a way of enrichment and culture when you remove language. You know, when we were taken here as slaves, we was taken away. We lost our religion, we lost our language, we lost, you know, our ability to read and write.
Everything. Right.
We lost our families. And I mean, I'm talking about like as an individual, but yeah, of course, we lost our family, you know, our whole like villages and, you know, so it was my way of trying to inspire a realignment to our culture and introducing people to the beauty of Swahili. Because a lot of people don't realize that my first name is Swahili. Kinyumba is Swahili.
I was going to ask you that. What is and your last name?
My name is the ruler of the house. So the leader of the space. So
and your last name, what is it?
My last name is Arabic. My last name means majestic. Majestic is the perfect independent one. It's one of the names of 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my name essentially means ruler of self, servant of God. And it's more than a name to me. It's a mantra. You know, that's my affirmation. When somebody asks me my name and I say my name is Kinyumba Mutakabbir, in my mind, I'm already thinking I'm a strong-minded person who serves the Most High. That's how I feel. And when I speak to someone, I automatically have this sense of like, okay, well, if I'm gonna serve the Most High, then I have to realize that, you know, I am that I am, right? If you go back to biblical scripture. So that means that God is in the person I'm speaking to. So that I'm serving you when I'm speaking to you, right? That's why I come across, or at least try to, as humble as possible, because ultimately that's what a servant of God would do. I.e., like what would Jesus do, right? So to go back into the title, my goal was to create something that would allow people to Google, go on their search terms, you know, maybe work on their enunciation for an African dialect that they didn't necessarily have the opportunity to before, and, you know, teach a language that necessarily isn't as difficult as we think. You know, Swahili is one of the easiest African languages to learn as a native English speaker. And, you know, a lot of people are saying Swahili words every day, don't even know it. For example, Hakuna Matata, that's a Swahili phrase.
What a wonderful
Suwu is a Swahili phrase. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you're not saying Suwu too much.
Right. But my LA
especially in LA.
We'll talk about that later, audience. We all know. Okay. Yeah,
but the point is that when you consider just how powerful language is, I decided to try to stretch the envelope a little bit. And I figured, you know, it might help me with some, you know, some sticking power. Maybe some people will notice it more than, you know, just, you know, a random title that people don't necessarily notice. So,
and you know, a lot of people, and there's an awakening in our community where people are starting to realize,
100%.
you know, Harlem has always been a woke place, but other places, people are starting to wake up and realize our ancestors and who we are, and where we came from. And so the title is very important because people are starting to research. It's like, oh, I need to know who I am. And we're more than just who we are here. We have a whole entire history prior to 1865, prior to 1492. And so it's important for us to learn Swahili and to learn these languages. We may not know exactly where we come from, but we know we come from that continent. Right. And so just to educate ourselves on that is very important.
And it don't have to be Swahili, because Swahili is an Eastern African, Central African kind of language. But the point is taking the initiative, creating a conversation around language and linguistics. And, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but modern day Hebrew was created in the early 1900s. Many of the words that a lot of our Jewish brothers and sisters speak were only created and were just literally created by a lexicographer in the early 1900s. Like words like ice cream and words like telephone and words like vehicle were in the Hebrew language. You got to think Hebrew was a prehistoric language that was almost lost. Right? So my point is you see how the culture of our Jewish brothers and sisters has evolved and has taken off in a way that preserved not only their religion, not only preserved their culture, but preserved their way of life and their successes in this world. Right. And I'm not saying that, you know, we need to follow their regiment, but I just think that it's important to kind of expand our cultural awareness, because it allows us to find a sense of unification, you know, and it finds a sense of being at home with something, you know. It's like it feels good to go into another space and have a conversation with someone that's from the same space as you. Absolutely. And we've never had that opportunity.
Absolutely. And one of the most powerful things is me and my mom took a trip to South Africa, and I'm going to Egypt next year.
Awesome.
But just to go back to Africa and people welcome you home, and you see all of these black people, and it's not Atlanta homecoming. You know, this is on a continent, and see all of these black people. It's an amazing experience. But when you have the history behind it, and then you actually go to a place like Africa, your mind is totally different because you understand where you're from, and your the cultural aspect is the greatness that our ancestors had, and the blood that still runs through our veins. It's still, through their veins, it's still in our veins, right?
Let me ask you a question. So I've been to Africa a few times too. Mm-hmm. How much did it trip you out to see somebody that looked like you?
Well, you know, it's a you know, it's funny because they didn't look like me, but they look like me. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like you're like, wait a minute.
It's just a weird because it's just I was telling somebody earlier that just to go into the airport and see nothing but black people, it was an amazing. It was like, and I equated to Atlanta because I'm from Dallas. And so my first trip to Atlanta, when I went to the airport, I was like, "Mom, but look at all these black people," you know. So it was a great experience, and I suggest everybody go to Africa or Atlanta. If you can't get to go to Atlanta, if you can't get to Africa, but it's a wonderful.
I went to Africa and I felt like I saw none of my cousins. I was like, "What though?"
Oh no, they were your cousins. Some of them probably are your cousins.
That's what I'm saying, but it's mind blowing because you know. You don't realize how far removed we are in a you know, in this space, but it's like far removed, but it's not that far removed. It's so close. It's so close. You know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we don't even know. Like the Horn of Africa or the tip of Africa is way closer than you think to America.
It really is. And you know, when you look on a map, and it's funny you say that because I was looking at a map and I did the distance between and it's so close. Yeah, that's how they got over. That's how the ships got over here. It's so close.
You know, they fly to Paris or they fly to Spain and then fly to Africa. Yeah, when you think about it, it would be much quicker than go to Africa.
Absolutely. So from like South Carolina to right there, you're right there, which is so weird. Florida.
You need some African airlines to go straight to Africa.
Absolutely. Let's get into this documentary too. So in this documentary, you focus on the killings of black people in America.
I know you didn't see it, but
I didn't get a chance to see it.
The documentary actually focuses on the cycle of injustice, and it's done in a way that you don't really understand that it's a cycle until the very end of the documentary. So it's a live action documentary. Everything was shot in real life, but it's also a monologue, and the monologue was taken from another film that was almost 100 years old. Wow. And it's a powerful piece because a lot of people see it and they're like, man, those words are powerful. I mean, you came up with that. I mean, it's so on time. And then at the end of the film, they're like, oh, snap, he wrote this? And the cool thing is that, like I mentioned, Jewish brothers and sisters, it was a Jewish man who wrote this. I'm not going to spill the beans because that's a clip. Spill
the beans out there.
Spoiler alert. I don't want to spoil it for people. I want you to come and see it. Right. But the individual who wrote this monologue is the Jewish brother that we all know. We all know him. Every person, I don't care if you're in ministry or not, because he's so powerful and prolific, one of the greatest entertainers of our time, one of the first entertainers of our time. Okay. And he wrote this from a space and time when Jewish was being persecuted by the Nazis and Hitler. And what he created was a spoof. And the point is, there is a method, there is a system, or I should say a model to create change. It comes from within.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I am pushing or trying to give awareness to and promoting through this documentary short film is what I feel is the greatest change for BIPOC and what we're going through as far as our police brutality, and that is transformative justice and restorative justice. You got to understand, you can't say that things are equal, separate but equal, when you don't have equanimity.
Right.
You can't give somebody
is important.
A goal and then set them up 3 miles behind the goal, and then set another person up two steps from the goal and say, okay, you guys can go now, and that's all equal. Because it's not.
Right. It's not equal.
Because the starting point isn't equal.
And I think that's what we all have been fighting for. It's not the equality, it's the equity. It's the equity of everything, right?
Yeah. So my thought process is, if we could start to bring families back together, because a lot of people don't realize you get incentivized if you're a single mom versus a family to get welfare and food stamps.
Right.
We can start to get our brothers and sisters who are doing time for a drug that is now being consumed at the highest accord legally across the land.
Right.
And we can start, reconciling some of these wrongful convictions that have happened systematically, time and time again. If we could start giving some retribution to the families that are part of these war zones that were created from CIA influenced narcotic delivery, Snowfall.
Right.
So things about like we live in a world right now where we have like a very polarized society, and people will come out and say, oh well, systematic racism is bullshit, da 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 da, and I'll just be like, you need to read more, because you don't really understand the history of this country. A lot of people don't realize that what redlining is. A lot of people don't realize the VA housing that was created for whites after World War II versus blacks, and how tenement houses was created. Have you seen them? A lot of people don't realize how realtors were incentivized with FHA to only in certain communities sell to white people.
Absolutely.
And as a result, these guys are going to the banks and getting full on no deposit loans from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and even 70s and 80s. Full on no deposit loans where a black man couldn't go in there with $1 million and get a loan unless he robbed the bank or something. And so when you start to consider now 100 years later, where you have generational wealth, a house that was bought for $10,000, $15,000 is not worth $1.5 million or $10.5 million. You start to consider, dang, this ain't an equal starting point, guys. It really isn't. And then on top of that, you have this terrible personification of black people where you talk about drugs and the war on drugs, and every picture is a black dude, getting cuffed or doing some sort of drug abuse in some capacity. You see all these movies or where promoted in music and videos. This is all like a brainwashing that kind of creates this stigma of why don't people get a job, why don't people and it's like this isn't the way to fix it. You don't complain, you don't gripe and then tell them to fix it themselves. It's not like that, because it wasn't set up in that way. You have to re-educate, refocus, and then also support and give some sort of leeway in a way that allows people to kind of catch up and recalibrate. And now I'm gonna end it with this last point. We have to really be cognizant of our mental health. I mentioned before our mindset, and PTSD is real. And when we start to consider these police officers, and I know this, I have great police officers in our martial arts system. So I don't have brothers who beat me up if I start talking about all cops are bad. We don't have problems with the police.
But we know all cops are bad. We know that. We know that.
Because we're intellectual beings. We're enlightened. We're not coming from an emotional state. Absolutely. But with that said, logic states that if the environment dictates a certain activity, then the participants in that environment will have no choice. Right. So if you come on the course where those who are in that environment or those who are policing that environment already have a mindset that this is a criminal, this is a thug, this is a hindrance on the society, then the person who is being detained or being approached is going to assume that you have that mindset and may have some defensive stance. A person who's on the offense and a person who's on the defense generally meet in harmony. Never meet in harmony, I should say, because offensive and defensive clash.
Absolutely.
Right? So this whole concept of Nguvu Kwa Watu, power to the people, is about bringing back the sense of love and harmony and community. And, for me, I think that's the way to create a new way forward. That's the quote unquote New Deal of the 22nd or 21st century. I guess we're still in the 21st century. So yeah, that's kind of what the intent of the documentary is.
And I love that, man, because life is about, and the Bible talks about, it's all about love. And if we learn to love more, put more love out there, if we look at things with love and our intention is to do the right thing by people, then it'll change everything. It'll make, the world a better place.
So I want to add to that one thing about love.
Go ahead.
Before we love another, we have to love ourselves. A lot of times people don't think that they can be loved because they don't feel love from themselves. And I'm going to take that and put that in the monolith of the Black community, Black American community, and say that we have to start loving each other. And once we start to love each other, then everyone will follow suit. If I see you and you see me and you grimace at me, then I know you're grimacing at everybody else, and everybody's going to receive you as being something less than what you are. But if you smile and say hello, and I smile and say hello back, then your love and your light shows. And at the end of the day, no one can deny you.
Absolutely. So tell people what they need to do to find this documentary and find you.
Yeah, it's really simple. We made it simple. I know you probably can't spell Nguvu Kwa Watu, so watch NKW. There you go. Super simple. Watch NKW, and you can find me King_Yumba. My last 5 letters of my name, Yumba, and I just do a G in the front of the N after the N and an underscore. That's my Instagram, and yeah, tune in May 25th, 9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific. I got my sister, my heart, Claudia. She's going to do the hosting for us.
Okay.
Celebrity panels, some Q&A. Got some activists coming. If you sign up if you get the tickets, I'm going to send you an autographed poster, a digital poster that you can post. That you can you can put it on your wall if you want. And it's going to be a movement. And hopefully what we'll do is we'll raise some funds. I got a few charities. One of which is newearthlife.org. You guys should check them out. Dr. Harry Grammer is phenomenal. Yeah, newearthlife.org. My sister, Marnie Bain, is the director of I think she's director of operations there, and Dr. Harry Grammer founded it in 2004. He helps kids get off the street and divert from prison sentences, and helps replace foster kids. We'll also be supporting Impact Justice, and we will supporting the Thurgood Marshall Fund. So we're working on creating some really good alliances and some strong, powerful people to come aboard and just offer their insight. And so the idea is that you come, you get to know me a little bit more at the viewing. You'll get to see the film, and then you get to learn a little bit about how to help restorative justice in your own way.
Absolutely. We love that, brother. Any final thoughts from our audience?
Well, listen, if you rocking with this man, you rocking with one of the best. He's a good heart brother. And if you rocking with him and you rocking with me, we would love to hear from you. We would love to, know more about who you are so that we can good turn rock with you.
Absolutely. Ken, thank you so much, brother. Hold tight for me in the green room, all right?
1 second, real quick. I just want to give a shout out to my brother, Big Bank. You know what I'm saying? This is his design. Hustle reflects greatness, and he gave this to me a while ago when I was on the set of True to the Game 2 and 3. And I never got a chance to shout him out, and I just happened to have it on. So while I have it on, my brother, y'all follow him, Big Bank 8700 on Instagram. Get you some gear. Hustle reflects greatness. Like I said before, it's more than a name. You start wearing stuff like this. You start calling yourself certain. These are mantras that change your mindset. That's how you change it.
Absolutely. And tell that baby, where's the baby? She's supposed to make a cameo today. She's still in the room.
They snuck out of it because she was making so much noise. But we'll send you a picture or something. She got she got some time. Y'all gonna see.
She got some time. We'll see her next time, right?
She got some time.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on, brother. I really appreciate you, and hopefully you guys check him out. And we're looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing this film in festivals, brother.
May 25th, come see us, and then after that, it's gonna definitely be in the festivals. My brother Van Lathan, he won the Oscar.
Okay. Yes, he did. I saw that.
So I'm on his heels. I'm like, I gotta do it too.
And my friend Nina, everybody from all those people from TMZ, they doing really great. I'm so proud of all of them.
Yeah,
I should have got on that show.
Listen to you, I was playing basketball with that kid for like 4 years when I moved to LA. And
Okay.
I mean, we him, me, and a couple of other brothers who are doing our thing right now. We've always stepped in touch and kind of continue to keep motivating each other. So you never know, man. Any day could be your day.
Any day could be your day. Any day, you gotta keep pushing, brother.
Keep pushing.
We both gonna make it to the top one of these days.
Yes, sir. I said consistency. I'm waiting for you to win your you gonna get an Emmy or a Grammy? Yeah, Grammy. That's what you need.
Grammy, Emmy, it don't matter. I'll take all of them. Make me a Whoopi Goldberg EGOT. I'll take it.
EGOT. That's what I want.
All right. Listen, we thank Ken for coming on Feeling Friends. We really appreciate him. Listen, if you have a dream and a desire to make something happen, believe in yourself like Ken. Believe in yourself. Consistency, perseverance. Don't give up. Listen, I'll be here same time, same place, right here on Feeling Friends. You can catch me on YouTube, which you're watching now. You can also catch me on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. All right, y'all. See y'all later. Peace.